Notre Dame just won't go away. After they lost to NIU and they blew my parlay earlier this year, I was done with Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish. I thought that they had no chance being a playoff team. But here we are going into week 10, and these boys have won 6 straight since that NIU loss. They're 7-1. They absolutely destroyed Navy. I thought Navy could have gave them somewhat of a game, but they've been on the warpath. Riley Leonard has played some really good football. That defense has been outstanding. But it's just I just can't get behind Notre Dame being a playoff team. Like, I do expect them to have a few bumps to close out this season, rather it be losing the Army or getting upset by USC, because, man, like, this season just seems too good to be true. I've never seen Notre Dame look this dominant. Even when they had Brian Kelly as their head coach, this year's Notre Dame team is just playing with a different level of intensity. They actually have some pep in their step this year, but I can't see this being a team that can do some legitimate damage in the playoffs. This feels like a one-and-done playoff team this year because, I mean, like, your offense has looked good, but you're not going up against any teams that got defenses remotely as good as what you could see if you got to play a Georgia or a Texas in the first round. And you did beat Texas A&M. Like, maybe I'm underselling Notre Dame. It's just hard to really buy Notre Dame as a true playoff team with them losing to NIU. And I know Alabama lost to Vandy. Everybody has had a couple of embarrassing losses. I get that, man. But it's just something feels fraudulent about Notre Dame, man. I really don't believe that offensively Notre Dame can sustain this level of play, because Riley Leonard has more than showed that he's a really good runner of the football. But he's not that good throwing the football. And when Notre Dame goes up against a unit on defense that can get after him and that can make life difficult for him throwing the football, if Notre Dame was to run it back with Texas A&M again, I would take Texas A&M to win that game, and they'll probably win it by at least 10 points. Because when you played Texas A&M, you played them when they didn't realize that the best quarterback on their team was actually on the bench, that being Marcel Reed. And having Marcel Reed just brings a different element to A&M's offense that they didn't get out of Connor Wickman, which is you got somebody that's really mobility, somebody that has a lot of mobility, and also a quarterback that is just so dynamic with the ball in his hands that defenses have to adjust for it. You have to game plan for it, because if you don't, you end up being in the situation that we saw LSU last night where Marcel Reed comes in and they just look shell-shocked. And you got to be able to throw the football somewhat efficiently to win once you get into the playoffs. And I don't believe that Riley Leonard gives Notre Dame the ability to do that. Now, he is probably the best quarterback that Notre Dame has had since Brady Quinn. Honestly, I would take him over Sam Hartman. I would take him over Ian Book. But we've seen Notre Dame win with these quarterbacks in the past that they're good runners, really athletic, but when it comes to throwing the football, they don't have the receivers nor the quarterback play good enough to be able to take down one of the better teams in college football. You know, you're beating up on Navy, Louisville, where what would happen if you played Clemson? I would take Clemson to win that game. It's just one of those things where I got to see Notre Dame beat USC to believe that the hype is warranted, to believe that this team is for real, because I thought this team was for real when they beat Texas A&M and then they lose to Northern Illinois. And look, I get that Alabama, once again, people are going to bring that up. They lost to Vanderbilt. I'm high on Alabama. I love Kalen DeBoer, but I feel like Alabama, Kalen DeBoer, they deserve the benefit of a doubt. Because Kalen DeBoer was in the national championship last year. Well, Marcus Freeman, I've seen a lot of times where Notre Dame will be playing their best football, and then out of nowhere, they'll have a random loss to an inferior opponent. It has happened way too many times. And I'm not saying that I'm doubting Notre Dame completely being able to make it to the playoffs, win out, and win a playoff game. I'm just saying, like, I got to see more out of this team for me to really stamp them as being a legit team that can do some damage in the playoffs, because right now, I'm still not buying them as a playoff team. I just don't know what it is about them, because they do got a great defense, but offensively, I just don't believe that brand of football that they play equates to having postseason success.